And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Andrew Millen, who writes, "Hey, John and Rob, if he's there," and he is here today, as a matter of fact. "So I'll admit that I didn't think box office numbers would be as big as they are right now. I bet a friend that F9 wouldn't make $50 million opening weekend, and obviously I lost. I just read some reports saying it's possible that Black Widow could potentially hit $100 million, which to me seems insane given all the circumstances. What do you think the chances are of Widow hitting that $100 million mark?" All right, thanks a lot for writing that in, man. And obviously, right now we are living in a period of time that the movie industry, both the studios, the distributors, the theaters, have been dying to see. Getting to that point where we've got big movies coming back out on the big screen and seeing how they'll do. Now, obviously, Fast 9 did terrific, cracking $70 million in its opening weekend. Again, in a world where the pandemic never happened, that doesn't sound all that impressive for a Fast and Furious movie. Understanding all the circumstances, it's damn impressive. Past 500 million worldwide, all that kind of stuff. Then all eyes turn to Black Widow. How would Black Widow fare? And I will admit, if you guys have been watching the show, I've been a little back and forth on it. I mean, Black Widow is not one of the prime MCU characters, in my opinion at any rate. This is a movie that has been delayed a lot, like many times over a long period of time. We are still dealing, the theaters still have not fully recovered from the pandemic stuff yet. On top of all that, Disney is doing their dumb pay us 30 extra bucks on top of your Disney Plus subscription to have the privilege of watching this a little bit early at home and not even getting a theatrical experience. But the fact of the matter is that's going to keep some people at home. So I've been a little uncertain. And then the projections came out, Rob. Projections saying that Black Widow was going to make between like 70 and 80, maybe even $90 million, which I thought, well, I mean, if that happens, that's incredible. But now we're hearing whispers that it could maybe even crack the $100 million mark. Industry analysts are steadfast on the $75 to $90 million opening being a safe bet. However, with larger than expected numbers of people returning to theaters for films like A Quiet Place 2 and the ninth installment of the Fast and Furious franchise, combined with the overachieving popularity of Disney Plus's Loki series, some insiders are now speculating that the $100 million bar for an opening weekend is within realistic reach for the Scarlett Johansson vehicle. So now they're saying, okay, not only is that 75 to 80 to 90 million, they're saying it could be realistic to think it's going to hit 100. Now listen, I'm not hearing anybody guaranteeing Black Widow's going to hit $100 million. But to me, the idea even just a couple of weeks ago that it even could hit $100 million, like 30 million more than Fast 9 did, to me seemed unreachable. But now, according to these things we're hearing, Rob, it may not actually be all that unreachable. And I'm sitting here now, if I'm going to set an over-under, I'm willing to give it a solid 35% chance that it actually hits 100 million. I've been feeling that more and more people are, you can kind of feel it online. People are excited. Those who haven't started going back to the movie theaters yet, they're getting more emboldened to go back to the theaters. It's been years since we've had an MCU movie in the theaters. People are stoked. The movie itself is still holding over 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's getting positive word of mouth. To me, it's not top shelf MCU. I've seen the film. It's not top shelf MCU, but it's solid. It's good. It's an enjoyable, fun movie. I kind of wish I saw it on the big screen instead of having to watch a press screener at home. But I'm going to give it a 35% chance that it hits 100 million. And Rob, just a couple weeks ago, I don't know that I would have given it 10. Rob, you're hearing now that they're saying that $100 million opening weekend for the first time in forever could actually be happening with Black Widow. Is that actually possible? And if so, what do you give it its chances are?
Well, John, today, Fandango is reporting that Black Widow's advanced ticket sales are the best of the year. Black Widow's, check out these statistics. Black Widow's advanced ticket sales through Fandango are besting those of pre-pandemic Marvel titles Spider-Man Homecoming, which had a domestic opening of 117 million, and Doctor Strange, which opened to 85 million. First weekend projections for Black Widow are between 80 to 90 million, and Disney's being safe with 75 million. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say it's going to make 100 million.
What do you
I think it will.
What would be the over-under number you would give on that?
Well, I'm not going to go. You know what? I'm if I had to be a betting man and had to get, I'm going to say 35% it's going to go 100 million or over. But in my gut, I'm going to go over 100 million. I'm going to go 100 million or over because I think people are excited about this. It's the first Marvel movie in a long time based on what Fandango's saying. It's the same thing I said about Captain Marvel. I think this is the kind of movie that mothers and daughters are going to go see together. It is a film that, and they've done a great job marketing this movie. It's about the relationship between two quote unquote sisters and an extended family, albeit one that was put together as a sham so I could infiltrate America, but whatever. It's still, it's family oriented. And I think it's about female empowerment. And I think we always underestimate how appealing this is to our sisters who love these kinds of movies. And I think the female audience is going to turn out for this. Whereas they don't turn out for something like Fast 9. I'm not saying that girls don't like the Fast 9 or the Fast franchise, but here's a film that's literally, they're showcasing the relationship between two very strong, very empowered women. And I think this is going to, I think they're underestimating the female audience. And I think it's going to go over 100 million based on that.
And by the way, like Pugh and Johansson are great in this movie. They are. Yep. They're both very, very good. David Harbour for me steals every scene he's in. He steals absolutely every scene he's in. I said this before, I will say it again. I would easily watch a Red Guardian standalone film. Tomorrow, I would go to the theaters tomorrow, line up, pay my money, and go see a Red Guardian standalone film. You know, it's interesting, Rob, because we are still living in these interesting circumstances. It raises an interesting question. We often go into these big movie premieres and say, okay, what would be a disappointing number for this movie? What would be a let's pop bottles, you know, for this movie? Got this. I would say anything under what Fast and the Furious made opening weekend, I think Disney at this point is going to be a little bit disappointed. Like if Black Widow comes out with like 65 million, which by the way was the original projection they had for it a couple of months ago. They were projecting about a 65 million opening. That's obviously changed and gone north. Today, I think they get disappointed with 65 million. I think if this thing hits 85 million, I think they pop bottles. If it hits 100 million, well, I just don't know what it says about the power of the MCU in the box office, if this thing actually does hit that $100 million mark. So I'm still guessing it won't hit 100 million. You are guessing it will. Either way, I think it's going to be close. So the question is for you guys, what do you think about these box office projections we're hearing for Black Widow, especially understanding that it's still going to be released for people at home on Disney Plus? Can we actually see $100 million worth of people get out to the theaters to go see this thing? What are your guys' thoughts? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.